wait for people to join the session. We have already 3 people in the session.
Mm-hmm.
And we have, hello, everybody. Hi, David. All good? Mike is
Hello, good
working.
evening.
Perfect.
Good morning. Hello,
Okay.
every to all the world.
So now we are live. Everybody, welcome to episode number 12. Wow, it's already episode number 12 of this Books and Beyond series, which is amazing. And we have so many more planned for this year and more to come. So this project, it turns out to be a great success, and we appreciate the audience and all the organization team in the back end who are supporting this project and its success. And we hope that these sessions really bring value to the community. So the reason why we keep on doing them. And today's episode is special for many reasons. First of all, just introducing quickly our guest, Ruffin Veal III. Thank you, Ruffin, for being here with us today. It's an opportunity to see you once more. You've been with us at the global conference, and you had a great presentation then. And
Yeah.
now, deep diving, you want to stick with us a bit more. So we wanted to join on this series. So we are very happy to have you, and we look forward for the discussion today. You have some tips and techniques to share with us about project management success. So that's I think a topic that who doesn't want to know more about it. So
Yeah.
this is a great discussion upcoming. But
Yeah.
then I also want to say hi, come back to our co-host David. Welcome back. We missed you. It's been a while.
That's pleasure, and
Promise to you.
enthusiasm and energy. I all.
I I feel I've been talking too much in the past year or so. So now it's it's time to share the challenge with you. So happy to see you back. And then for our
Welcome,
audience,
ready.
are you ready? Perfect.
Yes,
It's
fully back.
amazing. Perfect. And then just a few housekeeping stuff for our audience. As you know, the session is recorded. It's also live on YouTube. So if anybody feels like joining through YouTube, you can see us there. Just one quick note on YouTube: you won't be able to launch questions or comments. So if there's anything, you would need to connect through this Airmeet platform. On the right side, you have your chat, you have your Q&A. We all know how to use them by now. There's also a reactions little emoji on the top down center of your screen. So you can use that to just let us know how you're feeling. If you want to ask any questions and talk to us directly, you can also raise a hand. We can bring you up on stage. You can talk to Ruffin. You can talk to me, David. So don't feel shy. We want to make this interactive, and we want to know what you want to know at the end of the day. So with that being said, I will probably limit my housekeeping events. We're done, so we can get it started. Ruffin, welcome again.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here and looking forward to our session.
So, what are we talking today about, Ruffin?
We're going to talk about a subject that's near and dear to my heart. That's something that I base most of my presentations and my webinars and conference presentations on, and something that I believe that we as project management professionals have not paid enough attention to in the past, and that is the leadership and management aspects of managing projects, managing programs, and developing PMOs. Okay. And it's been my experience that our projects, our programs, our failures as PMO professionals, managing PMOs, uh, is not a result of our not knowing the mechanics involved of the processes, the procedures, that type of thing. It more or less boils down to our not appreciating the importance of management and leadership techniques insofar as going about our day-to-day project management business. Okay. Uh, these types of things take up a lot of time. Okay, there are little things that you run into every day that involve you dealing with people and handling people and situations and circumstances and scenarios. How we handle those on a day-to-day basis has a huge impact on the success of our projects in this profession. Okay, for example, a little thing. We've all had that situation where there's someone on our project team who's just a negative person. Okay. They contribute nothing. Okay. Uh, but they're always tearing down and trying to undermine anything anyone else is doing. Okay. They're a distraction. Perhaps they don't want to be there, but you need that person on your team because of the value they bring to the organization insofar as their knowledge is concerned. Okay. How do you get what you need from that person and shut down the negative aspects of what they're doing and undermining your project and your project team? How do you do that? It's a very simple technique, and you can do it. It's very professional, and it's not something that's going to cause any type of distress or discomfort with that individual. It's a technique that I call a project liaison technique. Okay. Now, there is no such thing, perhaps, as a project liaison, but this particular individual is only going to be criticizing you and what's going on and undermining your authority, but they don't want any authority themselves for the success of the project. So, what you do is you offer them a position of a project liaison, quote unquote, and you tell them that you need someone to work with you as a liaison between themselves and the users, or the liaison and management, to help ensure the success of the project. Okay. Now, what's going to happen here? They don't want any responsibility for the success of the project. Okay. So they're going to immediately back off because they feel that they're continuing to criticize and continuing to have negative things is indicating to you that they want more input. Okay. And they don't really want more input. They just want to be negative. Perhaps they don't want to be on the project. Perhaps the project was not something that they were in favor of or whatever. But when you put them in a position of having more authority for the success of the project, they will back off. Okay. The negative comments in the meetings, the undermining in the meetings will stop. Okay. Because they don't want to bring any more attention to themselves. Okay. So that's just a little thing that you can do insofar as leadership and management that can help you on your day-to-day basis. Okay. Another little thing that may happen, for example, you've got two projects, Project A, Project B, and you have a stakeholder that's on both of those projects. Okay. On Project A, that stakeholder is really gung ho. They really give you what you need. They want to see that project succeed. But on Project B, they're not interested. In fact, they may have been against the project. They just got overruled. Okay. So you're not getting what you need from them. So, scenario, how do you get what you need for Project B without undermining the good relationships that you have with that person for Project A? Okay. How do you not tune them out on Project A, get them discouraged so you don't get what you want for Project A, but you want to get what you want for Project B? So, how do you do that? Okay. These are the types of things that are going to make or break your project. okay, and your success. In that particular situation, you want to let that individual know that what they're giving you on project A and how important it is to the success of the project. And you want to let them know that what you need from them on project B is going to increase and enhance their credibility on that project just as it is on project A. Okay. So little things like that. Okay. Uh, you want to address people and you want to come from a perspective of what I call the three A's when you're dealing with these types of situations, be they political or be they inner team types of things. Uh, your accountability, their authority, and their agenda. Okay. When you're assessing people and you're assessing what you need from them and where they're coming from, you do what we call an evaluation of the project team members, and you address them from those 3 points: accountability, their authority, and their agenda. What are they accountable for in that particular project? Okay. What's on their plate? What is their boss expecting from them? Okay. And you get their accountability. Okay. Their authority. How much authority do they have? Are they a power broker? Okay. Or can they cut off the funds of the project? Okay. Can they withhold resources? Okay. What's their authority in the project? And then their agenda. They may have a negative agenda or a positive agenda. Okay. You want to try to ascertain what their agenda is and where they're coming from. And their agenda is most likely related to the two previous ones that we talked about. So when you're assessing people and situations and circumstances that you're going to run into every day, okay, you want to address them and address the people and the individuals involved from those three perspectives. Questions?
I think both
Okay.
David and I were waiting.
Right. I can continue. There are certain things that you can do. Uh, in your day-to-day dealing with programs and projects and building PMOs. Uh, One of the things I call is you want to establish lateral lines of communication. And what does that mean? You want to establish lines of communication with directly with people on the opposite side of your tier, the opposite side of your uh, tier of management. For example, your users, okay, your vendors, whatever. You want to establish with each one of those people a line of communication. Okay. Now, that line of communication may not be formal. That line of communication may be under the table. Okay. That line of communication is a line of communication that you and that individual know about. Okay. You and that individual have this line of communication. You don't bring up anything that you discuss in that line of communication in meetings. You don't put it on the status reports. And it's nothing clandestine. Okay. And the reason why you keep it more or less under the radar is because you want to establish a rapport with that individual, that that individual is comfortable enough with you to let you know what's going on the other side of the house. Okay. You want to know if there are any problems over there, if there are any concerns. Okay. You want to know what problems are what I call tremors of discontent. If there's any of that over there, you want to hear about it before your boss hears about it. Okay, because what's going to happen is the tremors of discontent are going to go up the other side of the house, is going to go up their chain of command, and it's going to cross over where there's a line of communication above you, and it's going to come back down your chain of command. And that's when your boss calls you in and says, "What am I hearing about this?" And you have, you had no clue. You didn't know this was going on. So you want to establish those lateral lines of communication to prevent that type of thing from happening. Why? Because you want to be able to address problems at the level that they occur. You don't want to have to deal with problems after they've gone up the chain of command, because by the time they've gone up the chain of command, they're all blown out of proportion. Okay. And it's always going to be worse than what it actually was. So if you know about these types of things before the rumor mill starts, you can address them. Okay. And that's what you want to be able to do. You want to address problems at the level that they occur. Okay. And not allow them to escalate. Okay. Another thing that we run into, when we're dealing with projects, is conflict resolution. Okay, now that's a big one. You've got this conflict, and it could be team conflict. It could be conflict with users, with people who are above you, people who are below you. How do you resolve those conflicts? What's a good way to approach that without offending people, without people getting defensive, and without them withholding information that you need in order to resolve the conflict? How do you do that? Well, a good way to do that is approaching it from the perspective of knowledge as to what the problem is. Is it professional or is it personal? Okay, those are two things I ask when it comes to product. I'm asking that of myself, and I'm asking that of an individual. If two individuals have a problem and they're not getting along, but I need both of these people to work together, how do I resolve that? I want to know, is the conflict professional? Do you have a professional problem with this individual? Or is it a personal problem? Now, you're going to get people who are going to come back to you and say, well, it's both. Okay,
Mhm.
fine. All right. But it was one before it was the other. Okay. Something
True.
you don't like about this individual, you can't get along, you can't get the work done. Is it personal or is it professional? Okay. If it's professional, does one person lack the expertise that they need? Is it an educational or a training problem? Okay. All right. If it's a personal problem, then we may have to go a little bit deeper. Okay. But you want to start off, is it personal or is it professional? That's the way to start to initiate that type of a conversation. Okay. I mentioned tremors of discontent earlier. You want to keep your ear to the ground, as it were. You want to, any type of rumblings of, and these types of tremors of discontent don't have to be verbal. Okay. They don't have to express themselves that way. They can express themselves in a look. They can express themselves in a body language. They can express themselves in different ways. You have to be sensitive to see that type of thing when we're giving presentations. There's a technique that we call reading your audience. Okay, you want to be able to read the people that you're working with. Okay, these tremors of discontent can become earthquakes. Okay, you don't want them to become earthquakes, especially, as I said, if you can handle the situation at the level that it occurs. Okay, so be sensitive to that type of thing. Be sensitive, keep your eyes and your ears open, do more listening than you're doing talking. Okay. And when you're sitting down and you're talking with people and you're interviewing clients and you're interviewing uh, prospective employees, you want to listen for some things that you can use, that you can piggyback off of to initiate rapport and conversation. Okay. Something that they say, something that's important to them, you can use that to initiate that rapport. Okay. You go into their office, What do they have on their desk? Is it pictures of the family? Are they pictures of sports teams? What are they interested in? Okay, you can pick up on those types of things. And these, again, are nonverbal communications. You can pick up on those types of things to initiate rapport and conversation and make your day to day life and managing your projects and your programs and building and developing your PMOs very less stressful. And that's those are some things that you can do. Okay. In my book, I talk about some things anywhere from office politics to coming into a new environment and changing the environment from an old style waterfall environment to bringing in a new agile configuration. Okay. How do you come into an environment? Okay. That's new. Okay. Everybody's not on board and everybody's never going to be on board with any type of change. Okay. How do you come in and get your agenda in place? What do you do? Okay. One of the things that you do is you assess the people that you're dealing with. Okay, who am I dealing with here? Who are the power brokers? Who are the go to people? Who are those people who have influence in that organization, that group, that agency? You want to find out who those people are and you want to get those people on your side. Okay, you don't have to convince everyone in the group, the organization, the agency to fall in line with your project or your plan. You have to influence influential people, and they will do the rest for you. If you try to influence everyone, you're going to be pulled in different directions and you're not going to be able to get the job done. And you're going to be stressed. You're going to be pulling your hair out and accomplishing nothing. Determine who the go to people are, who's influential. Get to know those people. Are they available for a cup of coffee? You want to get together and have some lunch? Get them on your side. Okay. Go to lunch with them. When you go to the meeting, you want to sit next to that person or have that person sit next to you. That person comes in the room. You want to be seen talking with that person. You want to be seen chit chatting with that person. You want to be seen in the know with that particular individual. Okay. Now, that individual may not be on your side. Okay. That individual may be totally against you. Okay. They didn't like the idea of this project. They don't believe in this PMO is a good idea. Now, how do you get them on your side? You want to let them know what this is going to do from there for them. How is it going to enhance their position and their credibility within the group? Okay. Again, if they know that they're going to get something out of this that's going to be positive, they already know they have the influence in the group. Okay. This is just going to enhance their status within the group. Okay. So you want to make sure that you buddy, you're being seen with this person, you're chatting with this person, find out who they are and get to know them. Okay. And that's another thing. One other thing that I talk about is don't be intimidated by the heavyweights. By the heavyweights, I mean your CEOs, your CIOs, your COOs, all of those folks with those acronyms. Okay, we we're a project manager, and this is our first project, and you've got a CFO or CEO sitting there, CIO, and we can be intimidated. Okay, this does not do us any good. In fact, it harms us because we become inclined to try to please those people. Yes, you want to please them, but not at the expense of agreeing to things on your project that you can't produce. Okay, so you're sitting here with these folks and they're throwing all of this stuff at you. You may be new on the job, you may be a new project manager in a new area or whatever, and you want to be an amiable person. You want to make friends and influence people. You want to get along. That's a weakness in that you will tend to agree to things that you should not agree to. Okay. You're understand where your position. You're in a position of vulnerability at that point in time. They are going to try to throw things on you that are really not under your jurisdiction. It's not really your job. This is the PMO's job. That's a part of your organization, and you're operational. Don't throw it over here. You're new. They're going to try to throw that on you. And if you agree to it, it's kind of difficult to back off, okay, because your credibility is at stake. Okay, so be aware that when you go into these situations, you're going to get some of that. Okay, you're dealing with power brokers. Okay, these folks are used to getting their way. Okay, and and to the point of some of them even being bullies. Okay, I think we've all run into bullies at that level. Okay, and it's not the type of bully that would take your money on the schoolyard playground. Okay, these are very subtle bullies. Okay, they will push their agenda. Remember what we said about accountability, authority, and agenda. They will push their agenda. Okay, and if their agenda is in some conflict with your project or your program, excuse me, or you're establishing a PMO, they're going to push in that direction. Okay, so you have to be aware of who you're dealing with. Okay, that's another thing we want to talk about. Who are you dealing with? You're dealing with a power broker, okay, or you're dealing with a 9 to 5er, okay. Uh, in America, our management structure came out of the old 19th century industrial revolution. Okay. That management structure is based on unions and also on the length of time that you're with an organization. Okay. And knowing who you're dealing with, that management structure has nothing whatsoever to do with someone's ability to manage anything. Okay, they are in a position, they have the title of manager, but they're there because of their operational knowledge, perhaps of the organization or the business, simply because they've been there for a length of time. Okay, you are not dealing with management professionals. Okay, you are the management professional. So you're going to get some kickback from these people. Okay, they are going to resist, they are going to resent you. Why? Because you may expose the fact that they are not really managing anything. Okay, so, and that's fine. Okay, this is the way it is, this is what we're dealing with. But know for a fact when you go into these things and you're going and you're dealing with these people, understand, okay, who you're dealing with. Okay, and that's going to help you a lot. Okay, what else do you want to do? That grapevine, okay, that every organization has it. You want to tap into that grapevine. Okay, you want to keep your eyes and ears open to what's going on around you. Okay, now you want to stay away from social, organizational, and managerial cliques. In other words, folks who band together for their own personal agenda, that type of thing. You, as a management professional, you want to stay away from that. And every organization has these. Okay. You want to know who they are, and you don't want to be involved with those types of things. You don't want to be involved with that. You don't want to be involved with political agendas.
Mhm.
Okay. You have your own political views. Everyone does. But that's not the place to express your political views. Okay. It doesn't matter what political views you have, views on society, views on religion, whatever. You stay away from those subjects. Okay. It doesn't matter what your view is, you're going to offend someone. Okay. So the best thing to do is to stay away from that. You don't get involved in that. Okay. For example, someone starts a political conversation. Oh, I think this political candidate is this. I think this political candidate stands for that. What do you think, Ms. or Mr. Project Manager? What do you think? Then I come back with something like, oh, well, there's certainly a lot of issues to consider. Okay. You don't take sides in situations like that. Okay. You need these people. Now, remember, your ultimate responsibility is to get this project done. Okay. It's going to fall on you. Okay. No one is going to say, well, that user or those uh, managers were particularly difficult. They withheld the resources. They didn't cooperate. No one is going to say that. The only thing that's going to be said is who managed the project and was it a success or a failure. Okay. And when that is said, you are going to be out there by yourself. Okay. No one's going to stand beside you and that's a drawback to this business. And that's one of the things that turns a lot of people off about the business. They run into that situation and then they're out of here. Okay. Uh, so you want to cover yourself as much as you possibly can. Okay. You want to document things where you have disagreements with the higher ups. Okay. You're not saying anything derogatory. Okay. You're not criticizing anyone. When your experience tells you that you're trying to put 10 pounds of activities in a 5 pound time frame, and you know this is not going to work. Okay. But you're getting that pressure that we talked about from those CIOs and those CEOs, and you're getting that pressure. Oh yeah, we can get this done. They clap you on the back. That's that bullying that I'm talking about. They put their arm around your shoulder. I think we can do this. In that particular situation, you want to understand that you don't want to push back too far against these people because these folks they're power brokers. Okay, they can undermine you. They can undermine your career. Okay. But what you want to do is you want to document the fact that, yes, I disagreed with this particular aspect of the project. I talked to CIO John Smith on the 5th of May, and we had a discussion, presented that to him. You want to document the fact that you did not recommend it. You weren't for it. So when it comes when the situation turns about and you can't get that done because you don't have the resources, everything that you pointed out, you have it documented. The fact that you were not for it, you suggested against it, but you went on because John Smith, the CIO, had the authority to go forward with it. Okay. So those types of things are things that we want to look as we go through our projects and uh, managing our programs. We want to also, when we're putting those PMOs together, okay, when we come into an organization, we want to come in there uh, with an agenda. We want to come in there with a vision of where we want to take the organization. Okay. They don't bring us in at that level to just maintain the status quo. They bring us in at that level to take them to the next level and to provide a pathway and a plan for that next level. Okay. A lot of us, unfortunately, get these positions. We go into those positions and we feel that we're just glorified project managers. We're not project managers at that PMO level. We're strategic thinkers. Okay. We have to have vision as to where we want to take the organization. And I think that a lot of PMOs fail because our leadership at that level has not grasped the understanding of that. You're not managing projects anymore. You're not managing programs. You're managing an agenda for an organization. Okay. One of the things that I did, I would sit on panels when we were evaluating uh, candidates for particular positions, be it project manager, program manager, uh, PMO. I didn't have the final say on the PMO, on the program managers, but I would be a part of the panel. And my questioning was never about the mechanics of managing a project, managing a program, or developing a PMO. My questioning was involving scenarios. I would give a person a scenario. How would you handle that type of thing? What would your steps be? What would you need in order to get that done? When you get to that level, I'm assuming when you get to that level, you already know the mechanics of managing a project. Okay. When you get to that level, you already know the mechanics of managing a program. Okay. I'm not going to ask you about any mechanics. Okay. I want to hear your vision. I want to hear you think on your feet. I want to hear you have a plan from getting from point A to point B. Okay. So when you go into those situations and you're interviewing for those positions, be aware that someone's going to come at you from that direction. Okay. Okay. Because you're not managing programs and projects anymore. So be prepared. Okay. Have a vision. Okay. Have a strategy as to what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, and what you're going to need to get there. Okay. So those are just a few of the things that I talk about in my book, and have the book here.
Oh,
In
perfect.
addition to that, yeah. In addition to that,
Can we see it?
I this is it right here.
Perfect. Thank you. I actually
Okay.
I put a link in the chat box for folks to grab it from the Amazon.
Yeah, yeah. It's on Amazon, and it's uh it's 1995 on Amazon, and I've also got it out there in Kindle for those of you who use the Amazon Kindle, and that's about 14.95. But in addition to that, I'm talking about eliminating excess meetings. You don't need all of the meetings that we go to. Okay, I mean it's absurd the amount of we don't need a meeting to tell everyone, well, the project's on schedule and everything's looking good. I don't need a meeting to do that. Okay, uh, we talk about project politics. Okay, how do you deal with those politics? Those people, those power brokers that we talk about, a lot of their agenda is politically motivated. Okay, you want to be aware of the politics that are going. You don't get involved in the politics. You stay away from that type of thing. But you want to be aware when someone is playing a political game. And you want to be aware of that because you want to know how you can stay out of it. Okay. All right. All right. You don't want to get involved in there. In addition, managing your project finances. That I talk about that in the book. that gets back to doing with that budgeting thing that we talked about way earlier in the presentation. How to manage those projects. It is not that difficult to manage your project. There are a few key things that you want to keep in mind as you're managing your finances. And if you keep on top of those, you will more than likely be able to manage those project finances. Okay. How do you manage staff that doesn't report to you? Now that's a biggie. I always get that. I get that one a lot. How do I manage people that don't report to me because they don't feel an obligation to me? Okay. They may think that your project or your program or whatever is just additional work that they have to do, and it's not really their job. Okay. You know, remember what we said about knowing who and what you're dealing with. If you're dealing with those 9 to 5ers, their thoughts are that their job is about their job description. And nowhere in their job description does it say they have to be on your project. Okay. So, how do you manage those people? How do you get those things that you need from those people? Okay. Very simple way to do that. Okay. If John is reporting to you only on the project, but not a direct report to you, then you don't have any influence on John's. You don't have any influence on when you write John up for his review. Okay, you don't have his functional manager does that. So John may not feel any obligation to you. You don't control his job. Okay, so what do? You want John to know that you are going to have some input on his review. Okay. Now, this is not a threat. Okay. Because you will have input. And a lot of project managers aren't aware of that. They're not aware that they can have input on the review of someone who doesn't report to them. And they don't know that. But yes, you can have input on that review because you're talking to this functional manager. Okay, John isn't doing his job. The functional manager and I are having conversations. You don't say, well, John isn't doing his job. Just by your conversation, you're having input on John's review. Okay, so be aware that you do have some leverage there insofar as people who do not report to you. You don't threaten them with going to their boss. You don't do that. Okay, but you let the boss and talking with the boss will let them know that they have to give you what you need. Okay. Now, when their boss tells them that, then you're going to get what you need. Okay. Don't pull your hair out about these things. There are ways to get what you need. Okay. And I talk about different methodologies and scope, budget, scheduling, documentation, and communication. Communication is important. Remember what I said about those lateral lines of communication. That may be one that you haven't heard about or have not used in the past. You want to use that one. Okay. Managing virtual teams. Okay, we're getting into a lot of that now. We have one of the most diverse professions in all of the world. I mean, we're all over. Okay, ethnic diversity, religious diversity, all types of diversity all over the world, and we can wind up managing projects with a team that's halfway around the world.
Mhm.
How do you communicate and manage those particular teams from diverse cultures, diverse backgrounds, sometimes diverse languages? Okay. How do you manage those teams? Okay. You want to grab on to what's common. You want to get into something that you all can relate to. And when you're communicating with those teams, you want to take into account, again, as I said, who and what you're dealing with. Okay. Who am I dealing with here? Okay. What country am I dealing with? You may not know all of the customs and everything about that country, but you can do a little bit of research. Okay. Okay. You can sit back and listen at conversations that are going on between the two. Okay. All right. then you can pick up on different things. But you have to understand and be well aware of when you're managing diverse teams that everybody doesn't think like you think. Everybody, what's normal for you is not normal for everyone else. And when you go in there with that perspective, you have a better chance of success. Go into it with the attitude of this is a whole new experience. I am ready to put on my learning hat here. I've got to learn some things. Let's not try to run this thing the way I run my projects at home. Okay. Understand that there's going to be a learning curve. Okay. Completing your feasibility studies, we've got that. Uh, you can do your feasibility studies, you can complete those. But the important thing about those feasibility studies is I get this more or less when someone takes over a project. In other words, the project is already started. A project manager, program manager leaves, and you're thrust into that position. It's your project, your program now. Okay. A feasibility study has been done. Okay. They're following the study. Okay. With feasibility studies, things change. Okay. You want to make sure when you come in to a project that you're taking over, if a feasibility study has been done, if it's large enough for feasibility study, you want to see that feasibility study. Okay. You want to know why the project was designed the way it was designed. You never want to come into a project that you're taking over and just pick up where everybody else left off, pick up their project plan, and just start working for that. You want to be sure that what you're getting is going to work now at this point in time. So I want to know how they got to this point. How did they come up with what they came up with, and is it still valid at this point in time? Who knows why that other project manager left? Maybe they went on to a bigger project or whatever, but they may have left because of some discontent. You don't know why they left a lot of times, especially if they left the company or the organization. So when you come in, you want to, I want to see that schedule. I want to see those budgetary plans. I want to see that scope, and I want to see that feasibility study. Okay. And those are some of the things that I have uh, in the book, and I've got over 100 of those. And just from a mentoring standpoint, a training standpoint, and the experience that I've had over the years, I think that a lot of the things that I talk about are things that if you have not run into them, you will run into them. Okay. And as I said, they can take up a lot of your time. They can put you under a lot of stress simply because you don't know a simple little technique to handle that situation. Okay. You want to practice what I call project relationship management. Okay. Every individual that you encounter in a project, okay, there is a relationship between you and that particular individual. Okay. That project brings people together for a purpose. And you have a relationship, a professional relationship with those people. And again, we're looking at their accountability, their authority, and their agenda as a part of managing that relationship. Okay. You have to manage the relationship between you and your users, you and your vendors. You have to manage the relationship between you and your boss, between you and your subject matter experts. Okay. Between you and your frontline managers. Okay, all of these are different relationships within a program or a project that you have to personally manage. Failure to manage any one of those can cause your project or your program to fail. Okay, so we want to be aware of that. That's important, and we want to make sure that we don't forget that as we do our day-to-day work as project management professionals. So it's about 10 minutes to the hour. So if you have any
Time for
questions
patience.
at this
With
point in time,
patience.
anything that I've mentioned that I didn't mention, do you have any particular situations or concerns that you've run into? Perhaps I've had some experience on that.
It was great to follow
Okay,
a lot of
I'm looking at the chat box here. Okay,
we we
one
we really enjoyed the chat and prepared very good questions to get your
okay,
experience of years
right,
to get
right.
our skills
Okay,
sharper.
I'll start at the top here. How do you keep your project team engaged? You want to let them know what's in it for them.
Mm.
Okay, how do I keep them engaged? John has this aspect, Jane has that aspect, Sam has that aspect. What aspect that John and Sam and Jim or whoever, what is that going to do for them? How are they growing? Okay, as management professionals, as subject matter experts, and how is that growing for them? What are they doing with what they're being assigned that's going to get them to the next level? How is it going to help them grow? You want to keep them engaged by picking those things as much as you possibly can that are going to help them continue to grow as professionals. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. How do you transition from a PM to a PMO leader? That's the biggie. Okay. You have to change your level of thinking. Okay. When you're going from a PM to a program manager to a project manager to a your level of thinking has to change. Remember what I said about you when you get to that PMO and you're sitting across from the powers that be, they are not interested in your knowing how to manage your project, okay, or manage your program. They are interested in your strategic vision. So if you're going to be a PMO leader, let's start now. Let's start while you're a PM, be it program manager or project manager. Let's start now to think strategically. Okay. Let's start now to think, how does my organization, my PMO, my aspect of the project management organization, how does it fit into the overall strategic plan of the parent company or the parent organization? Let's not wait until we're sitting across the table interviewing for the position to start thinking like that. Let's start thinking before that, because when you walk in the door for that position, your thinking should already be there.
There. Yeah, that's a
Okay.
good one.
Mhm.
Are PMs typically included in performance reviews? No, they're not, and that's what I mentioned. Depends on the organization. Okay, John is sitting down with his frontline manager. Okay, and they're going through his performance review. Okay, the PM is not sitting right there. The PM's input is before the manager writes up John's performance. Okay, so you as a PM are not sitting there generally with John. That's between him and his manager. Okay, your input has been with the manager prior to him getting there with John. Okay, this is you're sitting down with him, you're talking. We need such and such from John. Is there any way that we can free him up a little bit to get a little bit more done in this particular thing? You're talking to his manager about that, because remember, J- John is his resource. John is that his or her resource, that manager's resource. That manager has control over John's time, not you. Unless that resource is assigned to you 100% of the time for the project, it is not your resource. That's a resource that's allocated to you. So you want to get John's manager on board with John spending more time, if necessary, on your project. Okay. And if John is not doing, he's got the time, but he's still not doing it, That's where that input of yours saying that we're still not getting this from John or whatever. That's input into John's review. John's manager is going to tell him any concerns that he has about that. Okay, so you don't try to plead with John, bully John, threaten John into doing that job. He doesn't report directly to you. He reports to that manager, and that should come from that manager, not you. That's now. If after that you still don't get what you need, okay, now you go to the powers that be, and you don't talk about John in particular. You talk about the fact that we missed the deadline. Okay, our schedule is slipping. Okay, we had to spend more time on this. That's why we're falling behind. Okay, well, why are we doing that? Well, there was some input that we didn't get in a timely manner. What input didn't you get? Well, we didn't get something from so and so, and now the powers that be are in on it. Okay, now you will get what you need if they want this project done. Okay? So it's not you and John. Okay, you don't threaten John. You don't run behind him. You don't. There are other people who are going to have an influence on John's performance, and it doesn't have to be you in that respect. Your influence on John's performance is, as I said earlier, let's get John some things to do that are going to enhance his professional status and his credibility. What else do I have?
Wonderful.
Uh,
Ruffin, I
while
think
you're
we're
Oh yeah,
coming close.
I got one more. Yeah, while
Okay.
you're working with remote teams, how to ensure effective communication. We know that about 60% of communications are coming from nonverbal sources.
That's my
Okay,
question.
right. Okay. We mentioned about nonverbal communication. We mentioned about body language and just watching people. We mentioned about reading your audience. Okay.
Mhm.
We've got remote teams. Okay. Sometimes those teams are remote and you're sitting around a conference table and all you've got is the speaker. Okay, so you can't see anybody. Okay, these are the types of times where you want to ask probing types of questions. Okay, you want to ask questions that are we clear on that? Does anyone have any concerns? Can we move forward with this? Does everybody agree? You want to ask probing questions. You want to give people the opportunity that if they have any discontent, they
Mhm.
will express that to you at that time. Now, you preface that with being the type of manager that people feel comfortable with. Remember what we said about building rapport. You want those people to feel comfortable with the fact that they can say, well, you know what, Ruffin, I don't think that's the way we ought to go. Okay, I think we should go another way. You want that person to feel comfortable with you doing that. I'm sorry, with their doing that. I mean, they don't want to feel that they're going to be demoted. They're going to be criticized. You're going to play revenge. Okay, take your ego out of it. Okay, take your ego out of it at that point. You want those people now. Remember, now you've been building this rapport all along. You don't just start to build the rapport when this situation arises. You've been building that rapport all along, okay, with people. And that's what you want to use there in that particular situation. Of course, if you're teleconferencing and you've got screens up and you're seeing people, that makes it somewhat easier because you can read that audience better.
Thank you.
Ruffin, I think we need an episode number two. You shared with us so much, such amazing tips. Yeah, I think we have to we probably have to meet again. We are at the top of the hour though, and the people will probably start logging off. But It was a great discussion. I did share with everybody your contact and your LinkedIn profile as well. So if anybody has any follow-up questions, which I'm sure they will,
Mhm.
you can use those in the chat box.
Mhm.
Um, and then any final notes from anybody before we adjourn?
Well, I'd just like to say again, thank you for having me. I appreciate being here. Any opportunity that I get to share some knowledge, because when I came along, there was nobody we could go to. I mean, we had to learn this the hard way. Okay, so a lot of this stuff is stuff that I've just picked up over the years the hard way. Okay, so it's fun to share it, and I enjoy the session.
That's amazing, Ruffin. And you learned it the hard way, and you shared it with us to make it easy. So that is great. We this recording will go live and will be distributed accordingly, so that everybody gets the chance to hear some of your tips. And we really
Okay,
appreciate your time today.
Thank you
And
very much for
thank
a
you,
very comprehensive
thank you so much,
information
thank you
sharing.
so much.
I am feeling overdosed. Kiyevo overdosed.
and I think we relate to a lot of the examples that you were talking about. I think all
Sure.
of us has at least I've seen a bit at least.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And like I said, if you haven't run into it, if you stay in this business long enough, you will.
I'm looking forward for the CEO CIO way. That's my that's my favorite piece. But thank you once again. And for everybody else, stay tuned for the recording. We will post this on the LinkedIn page and on the YouTube channel. And obviously, stay tuned for our next episodes. The upcoming one in March. We also have some special surprises for you. So check out LinkedIn and stay tuned on that schedule. But for today, we can close the session. Thank you everybody for joining. Hope this was
Thank you very much.
as insightful for everybody else as it was for us. Ruffin, thank you one more time. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
All right.
Um,
Thank you so
So,
much.
we'll see you soon.
Sure
And thank
thing. Bye bye.
bye
bye
bye.
bye
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you very much.